Welcome to Extra Take. A very long time ago, an ancient group of people sought to establish their own independence from the kingdom which ruled over them. The divine ruler of the kingdom had the absolute authority on whether these people would be allowed independence. Nobody else could make the decision. The freedom seekers were eventually granted their freedom, but at a tremendous cost. They formed a covenant whereby the firstborn children of every parent, and also all the firstborn cows for some reason, would be killed unless they knew about a secret code. Of course, nobody told anybody outside the group about the code. Thousands upon thousands of innocent children were killed, including that of the divine ruler, who didn't know the secret code. Nobody other than the divine ruler was in control over the release of the freedom seekers, but everyone under his rule was punished, except the people who know about the secret code. In 1988, the United States accidentally shot down a passenger aircraft which killed 290 people, including 66 children. What if the punishment for this was that one child from every single family in the country was to be killed? Do you see how unconscionable that punishment sounds? But, what can you do? To this day, the group of freedom seekers still celebrates the killing of thousands of innocent children with a feast held every spring. Okay, so I'm clearly talking about Moses, Egypt, and Passover. Is Passover a celebration of the slaughter of innocent children? No. But is that part of why Passover exists? Yeah. I could easily make the case that this holiday is like celebrating the opening of a concentration camp in Auschwitz. But like I said, the innocent kids dying is not what Passover is about. This video is a defense of Columbus Day. What is the reason we celebrate Columbus Day? It's not about the man it's named after. Christopher Columbus is one of the most important people who ever lived. That is the value of the man. It says nothing about his character. I don't celebrate his character. Nobody does. He had despicable character, but his moral character also wasn't any worse than any other European person from his time period. He certainly was not as despicable as Hernan Cortez or Francisco Pizarro. Columbus treated the indigenous Americans equally as awful as competing European kingdoms treated each other. Hell, Europeans treated their own citizens equally as badly. This book, The Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker, contains a wealth of torture practices that were practiced in Europe for centuries. Here's an example. To be broken at the wheel is a process where a person's arms and legs are smashed repeatedly with sledgehammers until the bones are nothing but splinters. Then the person's rubbery limbs are woven in an alternating manner between the spokes of a large wagon wheel. This doesn't kill you, by the way. You're alive for the whole ordeal. Then they would perch your smashed body high up on a pole, tied to and woven into the wheel, and they would leave you there until you died of starvation, blood loss, dehydration, or animals ate you alive. This was done for high crimes such as murder, but also for minuscule crimes like petty theft. This is the kind of thing that makes me fantasize that I had superpowers, so I could go back in time and round up every disgusting king and sheriff and executioner and kill them in the most horrible ways I could imagine. But then I realized that would just make me as bad as they are. I don't know how a human being could do that to another human being. But that's hardly the worst thing that's ever been done to people. Now, since we know that those kinds of torture practices existed, does this make a Renaissance fair as bad as dressing in a Nazi uniform and pretending we live in the Third Reich? No. We're not celebrating that part of European history. And Columbus Day is not in remembrance of anything other than the unification of two continents previously unknown to Europe, Asia, or Africa. This is the most significant thing that ever happened in human history, and it's not even close. The unification of the Americas with the Old World made Earth biologically singular. American crops and precious metals completely changed the history and culture of Europe and beyond, and diseases rendered virtually extinct the history and culture of the Americas. It is the worst loss we've ever suffered. We don't know how many people died, but perhaps 100 million perished in a period of 200 years. 99% of those deaths were from disease. Yes, sword and cannon were used to bring people to their knees, such as the toppling of Atahualpa and the Inca Empire by Pizarro's men. But those deaths put up against inadvertently introduced diseases are statistically insignificant. Thing is, I am here because of the global interconnectedness of the planet. Do I wish that indigenous American culture had been able to continue to thrive? Yes, but I do not denounce my own existence. There are perfectly valid criticisms of Columbus Day. Columbus did not discover America. It's not just that it's offensive to say he did, it's literally untrue. Tens, maybe a little more than 100 million people lived in the Americas when Columbus arrived. So yes, do not say that he discovered America. Christopher Columbus also did not save the Americas by introducing them to Christ. You are going to find millions upon millions of Americans who are going to say that he did, and it's such a disgusting thing to say. I don't want to make this about religion. I've done enough of that lately. Columbus also did not save the Americas by introducing them to Western culture. The indigenous people were not noble savages. They were fabulous architects, accomplished astronomers, masterful farmers, and they enjoyed much cleaner living conditions, longer life expectancy, had vastly superior hygiene and physical stamina. They were taller, fitter, more beautiful, and they were more egalitarian. They saw each other, including women, as equals, more so than Europeans of that time period. This day is about continents colliding. If Columbus hadn't sailed here first, somebody else would have, within 5, 10, 20 years and no later. And thousands, then millions of people would still have followed. Disease and conquest would have come next, and the same outcome would have been realized. The world wasn't ready. We were not a progressive species back then. We could not combat diseases. This outcome was basically inevitable. I take no comfort in that, but it happens to be what is true. My home state, South Dakota, does not celebrate Columbus Day. We celebrate Native American Day, the second Monday in October. That's fine with me, but I don't want to forget the history or the science behind the meeting of America and Europe. We can't take the truth and make it taboo, because then we can never learn from it. Thanks for watching.